Hi everybody, welcome back to my craft room. Today we will not be doing any crafting. Sad, I know, but we will be planning my next build. Slight spoilers for episode 11 of Dungeon Meshi, if you haven't had that spoiled for you yet, but I'm going to be making Chimera Fallon. This is a cosplay, it's pretty different from anything I've ever done before, so I'm really excited to kind of try some new things, do some new techniques, and of course take you along with me. Planning cosplays is actually one of my favorite parts of the process. I really love gathering the information and looking stuff up and brainstorming materials, so I figured that I would take you along with me planning this cosplay, and hopefully it will be helpful as you are planning your own cosplays. I'm going to be breaking it down into 3 steps and using Fallon as my practical example. So with that, let's get started. So step 1 is you want to think about your goals. I always like to start my cosplay by thinking about if I have any goals in particular when I am working on this cosplay. Where do I want to wear it to? Do I have a timeline that I'd like to stick to? I also like to think about things like comfort while I'm wearing the cosplay and how I can best facilitate that. I also try to think about at the very beginning if there are any props I would like to make for the cosplay, and if so, what? And maybe how I'm going to do that. I also really like to challenge myself with learning a new skill every time I make a cosplay, and with Fallon, I would like to get better at making wings and learn some really basic 3D modeling with her staff. As far as deadlines and where I would want to wear this cosplay to, I would love to be able to wear it to KatsuCon 2025, so I would aim to have this done at the beginning of February. Step 2, and this is my favorite step, which is the design phase. So this is kind of where the real work starts and the real fun, in my opinion. There's a couple different avenues you can choose when you are starting to make a cosplay, starting with what are you actually gonna make? What are you making? So here's a reference of Fallon in her dragon form, and according to the wiki, she's 36 feet tall, which is not feasible for me to transport anywhere or make. So then I had to kind of start with my design basics, like do I want to do 2 legs or do I want to do 4 legs like a centaur? And what do I want to do with the wings? So after looking at and thinking through some options, this is a little Photoshop mock-up that I made of the design. I just downloaded a croquis off of Google and kind of just whipped something up. So let's go through the design and what I am planning on doing. So 2 legs instead of 4 is mostly for travel. I need to be able to fit this in a suitcase, but also for things like comfort and storage, like where am I gonna put another pair of legs in my house? But to give myself more dragon-like proportions without having 4 legs, I am going to be making some padded leggings. I have a pair of shoes that I can make some boot covers for, and I don't necessarily want to have like clown feet when I'm walking around a convention, so I'll use something like Warbler or craft foam to make the little talons for feet. And I can just cover those with the matching fabric that I'm going to use for the leggings. I'm also going to make a tail that matches the legs, and I'm trying to think through how to make that collapsible just for easy travel and also just living in the cosplay, being able to like get it out of the way quickly. Now we'll go to the top part of the cosplay. I'm going to be using a lot of feathers, which is going to be very fun, but feathers can be kind of expensive. So to kind of stretch the feathers that I'm going to be buying, I'm going to be using just sheets of really lightweight packing foam and kind of mixing that in among the feathers. And I think this will add some nice texture as well as making it so I don't have to spend like $100 on feathers. And then for the structure of the top half, kind of the shoulders and over the bust, I think I can use some power mesh for that, and I already have it in my stash. And then I can use stuff like bra cups for structure if I need. I've also been absolutely dying to make a mesh corset, and I feel like this is a fantastic opportunity to make a mesh corset. So for the lower half of the torso, I am going to be making the mesh corset and attaching feathers to it, and also using that as the harness structure, the support for the wings I would like to make. Speaking of wings, my plan for this is to use some PVC pipe for the base, and then I have been watching a lot of Miss Twisted videos. She has some incredible just ideas for making really flexible and wings that are full of movement. She uses recycled fishing rods, so I would love to try that, and I hope that that will keep the wings really light, but also strong and flexible for travel. When it comes to making a cosplay, you can change the design however you'd like. If you want more or less coverage, if you want to make a skirt fuller, if you want to add embellishments or take away embellishments, It is your cosplay, and you get to do whatever you want with it. So keep that in mind when you are designing things that you are capable of making and how you can simplify things that might be too far above your skill level, and then just personal comfort. But once you have designed, you can start fact finding, which is my favorite part. Brainstorm materials you want to use. Go to your in-person fabric store and start touching stuff. Go to the hardware store if you want to look at things that you might be able to use. Go to thrift stores to see if you can get stuff for mock-ups, or even if you have something that you might not even have to make it at all, you can just use the thrifted thing. I almost always prefer to order my fabric online, so ordering swatches is a great part of fact finding, and I have already ordered several swatches for Fallon. All of these are from Blue Moon Fabrics, which is my go-to when I am looking for a particularly fancy stretch fabric. I use them in my Melanoy build. But this is a great way to get a smaller piece of your fabric and give it a little stretch, give it a little stress test, see how it's gonna work, and if you like it. This is the fabric I'm thinking I'm going to use for Fallon. It is a stretch velvet with foil on it. It is gorge. Check around in store or online for any armor or sewing patterns that you might like to use, and also look up tutorials. See if anybody else has made this build before or has made something similar that can help you kind of make your own decisions on how you want to craft something. Use hashtags to look up other people that have made that cosplay and just see if they've documented anything. Like I mentioned earlier, I will be using some Miss Twisted videos for inspiration for the wings. I love you, Charlotte. And lastly, make a list of absolutely everything you need to make. Here is my list for Fallon, and as you go, you can just check off everything you've done, and that is great. It makes your brain feel good. And you can subdivide your checklist into checklists of checklists, but it's really whatever works best for you. Can you believe that was only step 2? I never said this would be quick. So step 3 is doing your shopping. If there is one thing that cosplayers do they do be shopping. I like to start by looking at my to make list and using that to inform my to buy list. Just like the to make list, you can check off the things that you've purchased, and that feels good. While you are making your list, I would highly recommend having a computer or phone nearby so you can estimate the cost of the things that you are going to be buying for your cosplay, so you can better inform the budget you need to set for yourself. I would, of course, recommend shopping sales. As I am filming this, it is early November, so I am waiting for Black Friday to buy a lot of my fabric and materials so I can get it a little bit cheaper. And I would also encourage you to set a realistic budget for your cosplay, and I mean that in 2 ways. First, set a budget for a cosplay that is realistic for what you want to make. For example, if you want to make a Sakizo cosplay, $100? Probably not gonna cut it. And second is to set a budget that works for you and your financial goals. I'm a big believer that you can really cosplay on any budget, even if you have to get a little bit scrappy with it. My personal method is I will give myself an overall budget for the cosplay, and then I also give myself a monthly spending allowance that I can put towards materials. I usually buy things like my fabric first, and then I can work on the larger base pieces of the cosplay. And then as time goes on, I can buy the smaller, more detail things, the accessories, the wig, the shoes, anything else that is going to complete the cosplay. I don't think it is realistic for most cosplayers to be able to buy everything up front, so never feel any kind of pressure to do that. And also be sure to factor in a little bit extra in your budget, because I swear every time I make a cosplay, I need to make a couple last-minute runs to the fabric store just to get some piddly little thing I forgot and I don't have time to order. So always just factor in like an extra $20 or $30. So to recap, think about your goals, design your cosplay, and go shopping. 3 easy steps that didn't just take me a long time to explain. But by putting in all this planning before you even touch your materials, you are going to set yourself up for success. It's going to be so much easier to make your cosplay because you have a roadmap to follow. You have an idea, you know what patterns you're going to be using, you have your fabric choices, you have links to things. And you're probably not going to waste money on materials that you thought you needed but actually didn't. And of course, as a little bonus tip, make sure that you're getting a lot of reference photos and organizing them somewhere. You can use a Google Drive, you can use an app, really anything that is going to just keep things in one place so you have an easier time finding them. And that's it. Those are the steps I like to use to plan my cosplays. If you do anything different, or if you have any ideas that work for you, I would love to hear about them. Please leave them in the comments below. If you're interested in more cosplay content, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, as well as subscribing to this YouTube channel. And with that, I will see you next time, where we will begin crafting Chimera Fallon. I'm really excited, and I will see you next time. Bye!